But Hugh is so versatile. He's a terrific. He's got such a great depth to his ability.
Jason Statham and Rosie Huntington-Whiteley have long been one of the most recognizable couples in the public eye, admired for their elegance, shared charisma, and seemingly rock-solid relationship. For years, they embodied the ideal of Hollywood glamour, balancing thriving careers with a high-profile romance that spanned more than a decade. Yet behind the polished red carpet appearances and magazine spreads, their reality has turned out to be far more complicated. News has emerged that they are facing significant problems in their marriage, with the couple now moving toward divorce. The revelation is jarring for those who have followed their journey, as it disrupts the carefully curated image of stability and intimacy they had built. Before we start, hit the like and subscribe buttons for more exclusive news. The dynamic between them had often been painted as one of balance. Jason, with his action star persona and grounded, no-nonsense demeanor, seemed a perfect match for Rosie's poise and sharp business instincts. She transitioned seamlessly from supermodel to entrepreneur, managing her own beauty brand and carving out an identity distinct from her modeling past. Together, they appeared to complement each other's strengths, with a relationship that seemed to thrive under the pressures of fame. But appearances in the celebrity world can mask deeper, more private struggles. Reports that their marriage is experiencing deep fractures suggest a reality in which the constant demands of their careers, combined with personal differences, may have taken their toll. Statham's film schedule is notoriously intense, with months spent on location for high-octane blockbusters that require not only physical preparation, but long periods away from home. For Huntington-Whiteley, the demands of running a brand, staying engaged with her global audience, and maintaining her profile in the fashion industry are equally consuming. That level of separation and pressure can strain even the most committed partnerships. Over time, it's not uncommon for such couples to find that their paths, once aligned, begin to diverge. The decision to pursue divorce marks a turning point, not just in their relationship, but in the public narrative surrounding them. This is a couple that, for years, managed to maintain a rare balance of public exposure and private life. They rarely indulged in oversharing, and when they did appear together, they exuded an easy confidence that many mistook for proof of unshakable harmony. But marriage, especially under the microscope of international fame, often plays out very differently in private than it does in public. Their separation challenges the romanticized perception that charisma, beauty, and success can shield a couple from deeper incompatibilities. The pressures they face are amplified by the very thing that brought them into the public consciousness: the global fascination with celebrity relationships. Every red carpet pose, social media post, and candid photograph becomes part of an ongoing narrative crafted not just by the couple, but by the public and the media alike. This narrative can create expectations that are impossible to live up to, turning a relationship into a performance. Maintaining that performance while managing the complexities of real intimacy is a challenge few can navigate without strain. The moment the curtain is pulled back and the struggles become known, the idealized story begins to unravel. In their case, the challenges may also reflect the different trajectories their lives have taken. Statham, established in his niche as an action icon, continues to work on projects that reaffirm his brand and legacy in Hollywood. Huntington-Whiteley, meanwhile, has been steadily evolving, building a career that blends fashion, beauty, and entrepreneurship. Such evolution can be empowering, but it can also create shifts in priorities, values, and even lifestyle that are difficult to reconcile. When two people grow at different speeds or in different directions, the shared vision that once anchored them can start to blur. What makes their situation particularly compelling is the contrast between the controlled, polished image they projected for so long and the rawness of the current reality. For years, the public saw them as aspirational figures, beautiful, successful, supportive of one another, and seemingly immune to the fragility that often plagues celebrity unions. Their decision to divorce shatters that illusion and offers a reminder that no one, regardless of status or resources, is immune to the complex emotional terrain of human relationships. The ripple effects of their separation extend beyond the personal and into the professional. As high-profile individuals with overlapping fan bases and shared public appearances, the dissolution of their marriage inevitably impacts how they are perceived individually. There will be questions about how this will affect Statham's brand as a leading man and Huntington-Whiteley's identity as a style and business icon. While neither's career is likely to falter solely due to a personal split, the emotional energy required to navigate a divorce, especially one played out in the public eye, can be draining, potentially influencing how they approach work and public engagements in the immediate future. The news also underscores the particular strain that comes with being part of a so-called power couple. In such relationships, the stakes are high, not only emotionally, but in terms of brand equity and public investment. Fans and media alike have a vested interest in the survival of these unions, often projecting their own ideals and desires onto them. When such a couple falters, it's not just a private heartbreak, it becomes a public event, dissected and discussed, with narratives spun from limited information. The weight of that scrutiny can make an already painful process even more challenging. Beyond the public perception, there is the reality of disentangling two lives built together over many years. They share not only personal history but also social circles, professional networks, and most importantly, a family unit with their young child. Divorce in such circumstances is rarely straightforward. Decisions about custody, living arrangements, and maintaining stability for their child will be paramount, adding another layer of complexity to the separation. The desire to protect their child from media intrusion will likely shape how they handle announcements, appearances, and even social media activity in the months to come. The strain of balancing parenthood with career demands may have been one of the underlying stressors in their marriage. For many couples, the transition into parenthood reshapes the relationship in profound ways, sometimes strengthening the bond, but other times exposing fault lines. With their careers requiring them to spend substantial time apart, coordinating as parents while sustaining intimacy as partners may have been increasingly difficult. The sense of partnership, so crucial in raising a child, can erode when physical and emotional distance grows. In the world of celebrity, distance is not only physical but emotional, exacerbated by the ever-present layer of public performance. Every event, interview, and social post is both an opportunity for connection and a potential minefield for speculation. Even small gestures, or the absence of them, can be interpreted as signs of trouble, creating a feedback loop of pressure and second-guessing. Living under that constant gaze means that even private disagreements or moments of strain risk becoming public currency. Their decision to divorce might also speak to a shared recognition that continuing the marriage in its current state could lead to greater unhappiness for both. It's often assumed that ending a relationship is a sign of failure, but in many cases it can be a pragmatic, if painful, step toward preserving respect and dignity. Choosing to separate rather than force a continuation that no longer works can be a way of honoring what the relationship once was while acknowledging its current limitations. For those watching from the outside, the split serves as a reminder that relationships are deeply personal journeys, subject to change and evolution regardless of how flawless they may appear in public. Jason Statham and Rosie Huntington-Whiteley's marriage seemed to embody a rare blend of personal chemistry and professional success, yet it has encountered challenges that neither fame nor fortune could shield against. This reality, while disappointing for admirers, humanizes them in ways that perhaps nothing else could. Their situation invites reflection on how much the public invests in celebrity relationships, often using them as benchmarks for our own expectations. The curated images we consume, whether in glossy magazine shoots or fleeting social media updates, can create an illusion of perfection that is rarely sustainable. The truth, as their story reveals, is often more nuanced, shaped by private moments of struggle, compromise, and ultimately, the recognition that parting ways might be the healthiest choice available. As they navigate this transition, both will likely face the dual challenge of managing their private emotions while continuing to fulfill their public roles. For Statham, that means maintaining his action star energy and charisma in upcoming projects, while for Huntington-Whiteley, it means sustaining her momentum as a businesswoman and fashion figurehead. Doing so while under the weight of personal upheaval will test their resilience and adaptability in ways their careers have not before. There is also the matter of legacy. For a couple that has spent years being held up as an example of a modern Hollywood success story, this chapter will inevitably become part of how they are remembered. While their careers will continue to evolve, the narrative of their relationship, from its beginnings to its public dissolution, will remain a touchstone in discussions of their lives. That permanence, both a privilege and a burden of fame, ensures that their marriage will be remembered not only for its glamour, but also for the challenges it faced. The revelation of their divorce carries a certain poignancy, especially for those who saw in them a kind of stability rare in the entertainment world. Their love story, marked by years of apparent mutual respect and shared ambition, now stands as a testament to the fact that even the strongest connections can shift over time. In its own way, that truth may offer a more realistic, if sobering, picture of love and partnership, one that acknowledges growth, change, and the courage it takes to walk separate paths when the shared road no longer fits. The choice to go public with the news, whether made directly by them or through inevitable leaks, signals a turning point in their private lives. It sets the stage for a new era for both, one defined not by their shared identity, but by the individual paths they will now forge. That transformation, while difficult, opens the door for reinvention, new priorities, and perhaps in time, a different kind of peace. Jason Statham and Rosie Huntington-Whiteley's split is more than a headline. It's a story that blends the allure of celebrity with the universal realities of love, change, and loss. It reflects the challenges of sustaining intimacy under the relentless spotlight and reminds us that behind the glamour, relationships remain deeply human endeavors, shaped by the same vulnerabilities, choices, and complexities faced by everyone else. Their journey toward divorce is a moment of profound change, marking the end of one chapter and the uncertain beginning of another, in full view of a world that has watched their story unfold from the very start. The revelation about Jason Statham and Rosie Huntington-Whiteley's marriage encountering irreconcilable challenges and their decision to part ways brings to light a new dimension of how long-term relationships evolve in high-profile contexts. With the initial shock settling, it becomes possible to explore the layers that make such a split not only significant to those involved, but also emblematic of the wider pressures surrounding celebrity unions. This is not simply the end of a partnership. It is a moment where two carefully crafted public identities must undergo substantial redefinition. For many observers, one of the most striking elements of this separation lies in the fact that both individuals are at mature, pivotal points in their lives and careers. They are not newcomers to fame. Each has had decades of experience navigating the intense glare of public attention. This makes their decision to divorce less about youthful impulsiveness and more about an intentional, clear-eyed assessment of their futures. When two people who have weathered so much together ultimately decide to go their separate ways, it prompts questions about what, precisely, shifts beneath the surface to render the bond unsustainable. In relationships, particularly those in the public eye, time can play two very different roles. It can deepen understanding and solidify trust, or it can magnify differences and highlight divergences in lifestyle philosophy and emotional needs. Over years of shared experiences, couples often find that the qualities that initially drew them together are not necessarily the same ones that can sustain them indefinitely. The passage of time, rather than creating an ever stronger foundation, can sometimes reveal incompatibilities that were once muted by the thrill of novelty or the distraction of busy lives. Another factor to consider is the element of personal reinvention. For both Jason and Rosie, their careers have demanded continual adaptation to remain relevant. In the entertainment and fashion industries, there is an ongoing pressure to refresh one's image, explore new creative avenues, and adapt to shifting audience expectations. This kind of reinvention requires not only professional agility, but also emotional energy and focus, resources that can become stretched thin when combined with the demands of maintaining a marriage. If both partners are reinventing themselves simultaneously but in different directions, the relationship can start to feel less like a shared journey and more like two parallel tracks moving steadily apart. In their case, the intersection between private needs and public personas is particularly delicate. As a leading man, Statham's public image leans heavily on notions of strength, dependability, and stoic resilience. Huntington-Whiteley's image is anchored in elegance, refinement, and entrepreneurial intelligence. These archetypes work beautifully in curated public appearances, but may not reflect the vulnerabilities, disagreements, and compromises that exist behind closed doors. The tension between maintaining an image and confronting personal realities can become exhausting, especially when the brand value of the relationship itself is so high. An often overlooked component of such separations is the question of emotional bandwidth. Maintaining a deep emotional connection requires time, focus, and the willingness to engage in ongoing dialogue about one's needs and boundaries. In a relationship where both parties have demanding careers, this kind of emotional labor can be unintentionally deprioritized. Long filming schedules, international business trips, and the constant digital engagement required of modern public figures mean that sustained, uninterrupted connection is hard to come by. While technology makes it easier to remain in contact across distances, it cannot replace the kind of in-person presence that fosters intimacy and reassurance. It is also worth acknowledging the impact of ambition itself. Both Jason and Rosie are driven individuals who have built their success through determination, discipline, and strategic career choices. While shared ambition can be a bonding factor in the early stages of a relationship, it can later become a source of friction if each person's aspirations require sacrifices that conflict with the other's needs. When neither party is willing or able to significantly compromise their career path, the resulting impasse can strain the partnership beyond repair. In this situation, the complexities are amplified by the fact that their marriage existed not just in the private sphere, but as a symbol to millions of fans. This symbolism creates an additional layer of difficulty in acknowledging and addressing problems. When the world sees you as relationship goals, there can be a reluctance to admit that things are less than perfect. Such reluctance often delays important conversations, allowing unresolved issues to grow in scope until they are no longer manageable. By the time the decision to separate is made, the emotional distance may already be too great to bridge. Their split also highlights the evolving cultural conversation about what constitutes a successful relationship. There is a growing recognition that longevity alone is not the sole measure of success. Rather, mutual growth, respect, and the ability to adapt together are increasingly valued. By this measure, some might see their willingness to part ways as an act of clarity and self-respect, even if it runs counter to the traditional narrative of staying together at all costs. In an industry where image management is paramount, choosing authenticity over performance can be a rare and courageous move. From a logistical standpoint, the process of untangling their lives will likely be intricate. Beyond shared property and financial assets, there are joint responsibilities tied to their family life. For public figures, the question of privacy for their child becomes central. Maintaining a sense of normalcy in the midst of a highly publicized divorce requires careful planning, boundaries with the media, and a commitment to co-parenting in a way that minimizes disruption. This aspect of the separation is often the most emotionally charged, as it forces both parties to continue interacting and collaborating despite the dissolution of the marital bond. It is impossible to ignore the role of the media in shaping how this split will be perceived. While both Jason and Rosie have reputations for being relatively guarded about their private lives, the announcement of a divorce will inevitably trigger intense speculation. Gossip outlets, entertainment reporters, and social media users will attempt to construct narratives about what really happened, often with little regard for accuracy or sensitivity. For the couple, managing this wave of speculation will be a delicate balance between protecting their privacy and ensuring that misinformation does not dominate the public discourse. In many high-profile breakups, the individuals involved are forced to navigate a kind of reputational chess game. Every public appearance, every statement, and even non-verbal cues will be scrutinized for signs of resentment, sadness, or indifference. For Statham, known for his stoic and often tough exterior, the public will be curious to see whether this personal change alters his demeanor in interviews or press events. For Huntington-Whiteley, whose brand is intertwined with her ability to project effortless grace, there will be similar interest in how she carries herself during this period of personal upheaval. The announcement also inevitably affects the communities and networks they belong to. Celebrity social circles often overlap, meaning that mutual friends and collaborators will have to navigate the delicate territory of maintaining relationships with both parties. For those in their inner circle, the separation might shift dynamics at events, collaborations, or even within business ventures. In some cases, friendships can become collateral damage in the wake of a divorce, especially when loyalties or perceptions of blame are involved. Another interesting dimension is how the split may influence each of their creative trajectories. Emotional transitions often act as catalysts for artistic evolution, pushing individuals toward new themes, collaborations, or risks they might not have considered before. While neither Statham's action-driven roles nor Huntington-Whiteley's entrepreneurial ventures are directly autobiographical, the experience of such a profound personal change could subtly influence their future choices. It is not uncommon for actors to channel personal emotions into their performances, or for business leaders to pivot toward projects that reflect their changing priorities. In a broader sense, their separation speaks to the universal challenge of reconciling personal fulfillment with shared commitments. Even outside of the celebrity sphere, couples face the difficult question of how to sustain a partnership when both individuals are equally committed to their own personal and professional growth. The balance between independence and interdependence is delicate, and when either side tips too far, the foundation of the relationship can become unstable. In the case of Jason and Rosie, it seems that their respective paths, while admirable individually, no longer aligned in a way that could sustain the marriage. The decision to divorce may also serve as a form of boundary setting, a way of affirming personal values and emotional needs that can no longer be met within the current structure. In this sense, the separation is not merely an end, but a deliberate step toward building a different kind of life. One where each person has the freedom to pursue their aspirations without the compromises that the marriage required. Such decisions, while painful, are often rooted in a deep understanding of oneself and a recognition that staying in a misaligned relationship can ultimately hinder both parties' growth. Financial considerations will undoubtedly play a role, even if they are not the central issue. In high-net-worth divorces, the division of assets must account not only for tangible property, but also for intellectual property, business stakes, and residual earnings from past projects. The complexity of such arrangements often requires teams of advisors, legal experts, and financial planners. While the couple's public image suggests they will approach the process with dignity, the negotiations behind the scenes can be intense and drawn out. It is also important to note the emotional ripple effects beyond the immediate family. Fans, while not directly impacted, often form parasocial relationships with celebrity couples, investing emotionally in their perceived happiness. For some, the breakup may feel oddly personal, as though a part of their own narrative about love and success has been challenged. This reaction, though disproportionate, speaks to the power of celebrity culture in shaping collective ideals. The dissolution of a high-profile marriage becomes not just a personal event, but a cultural touchpoint, prompting conversations about love, commitment, and the realities behind public images. In the weeks and months following such an announcement, subtle shifts often become apparent in how each individual engages with the world. Changes in social media activity, the choice of public appearances, and even the tone of interviews can signal new phases in personal identity. While the public will be quick to interpret these shifts as signs of emotional state, in reality, they may be strategic moves to control the narrative and protect personal well-being. For both Jason and Rosie, crafting a post-divorce public image will be an essential part of moving forward professionally. Their split also raises questions about the role of shared history in maintaining a relationship. A decade together carries with it countless shared experiences, inside jokes, milestones, and memories. Such a history can be both a source of comfort and a weight, especially when the present no longer aligns with the past. Letting go of that shared history is one of the most challenging aspects of ending a long-term partnership, as it requires redefining one's personal story without the presence of someone who has been a central figure for so long. From a psychological perspective, the decision to end a relationship after such an extensive shared life suggests a profound shift in priorities. It may reflect a growing recognition that personal happiness, fulfillment, and autonomy have taken precedence over maintaining the status quo. This prioritization can be especially strong in individuals who have achieved professional stability, as it allows them to focus more on emotional and personal needs without the same level of financial uncertainty. One aspect that stands out in the separation between Jason Statham and Rosie Huntington-Whiteley is how it intersects with shifting expectations of relationships in modern culture. Over the past decade, there has been a growing acceptance of the idea that marriages do not have to last forever to be considered meaningful or worthwhile. This cultural shift allows individuals, even public figures, to reframe divorce not as a failure, but as the natural conclusion of a chapter. For two people who have shared years of experiences, mutual support, and milestones, the end of the marriage does not erase the value of what came before. It instead reframes it as a formative period in each of their lives. In Hollywood and the global entertainment industry, relationship narratives often serve as a mirror for evolving social norms. Statham and Huntington-Whiteley's decision reflects a wider trend in which personal growth and self-determination are prioritized, even when they require a departure from a shared life. For many fans observing from the outside, this moment can be a catalyst to rethink their own definitions of success in relationships. The idea that love can be deep, authentic, and transformative, yet still reach a natural conclusion, challenges the old narrative of forever being the only measure of a successful partnership. The announcement also speaks to the nature of identity within a relationship. When two individuals are constantly viewed as part of a unit, their personal identities can sometimes become overshadowed. Separating allows each person to reclaim their individuality in a public sense. For Statham, that may mean presenting himself less as one half of a glamorous couple and more as an independent figure whose work speaks for itself. For Huntington-Whiteley, the shift could open space for her entrepreneurial ventures to stand apart from her role as a spouse to a high-profile actor. This process of reclaiming and reasserting individuality can be empowering, though it often comes with the challenge of redefining how one is perceived by audiences and peers. The timing of their split is also noteworthy. Both are in phases of life where they have established their careers to the point of stability. This kind of security can make it easier to take decisive personal steps without the added fear of professional fallout. When a person feels secure in their work and financial independence, the decision to end a marriage becomes less about survival and more about alignment with personal values and future aspirations. In this way, their divorce may be seen as an intentional act rather than a reactive one. For those within their immediate professional spheres, the separation will inevitably influence how each is approached for collaborations and events. Publicists, producers, and brand partners are often highly attuned to the personal narratives of public figures, knowing that these narratives can influence audience perception and marketability. While some may attempt to capitalize on the attention the divorce brings, others will likely give them space, understanding the sensitivity of the moment. This dynamic underscores the reality that, in the entertainment industry, personal and professional worlds are inextricably linked. On a more personal level, the dissolution of a marriage at this stage in life often invites reflection on long-term goals. Freed from the shared decision-making that marriage requires, each will have the opportunity to recalibrate priorities, perhaps pursuing projects or experiences they had previously set aside. This could mean a shift in the kinds of films Statham chooses to make, or a new direction for Huntington-Whiteley's business ventures. Such changes, though rooted in personal life, often ripple into creative output in ways that can surprise both the individuals themselves and their audiences. There is also a potential ripple effect in terms of philanthropic or public-facing endeavors. As a couple, they may have supported certain causes together, but separation often prompts a re-evaluation of where to focus charitable energy and influence. This can lead to the development of new partnerships and the championing of different initiatives, allowing each person to carve out a philanthropic identity that is wholly their own. While the headlines will focus on the breakup itself, the longer-lasting story may be how each navigates the period immediately after. The ways they engage, or choose not to engage, with the media, their audience, and each other will set the tone for how the public remembers this chapter. In a world where celebrity separations can easily devolve into tabloid fodder, there is an opportunity here for both to model a path forward that is grounded in mutual respect, personal clarity, and dignity, even in the face of profound change. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, could you leave your comments below and tell us? What are your thoughts on Jason Statham's divorce news? Do you think they'll reconcile? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.